If you asked me 5 years ago if a light could be small enough to do this, with enough power to still produce big results like this, I'd never have believed you. This is the Zhiyun Molus X60RGB. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at this super tiny light from Zhiyun. For those that don't know, Zhiyun has been pushing out a lot of lights lately that are a little bit retro, tiny, super powerful, small and compact, very much creative driven for creators. And I think the big question is, when you're looking at it in the bigger scheme of things, are these lights actually worth it, or are they gimmicks? Today I'm going to answer that for you, and I'm going to run you through absolutely everything about this light and show you some cool creative stuff that we got up to and how it produces big results in the real world testing. In the box. So this is the Molus X60RGB. Now Zhiyun does make a normal CCT mode that doesn't have RGB, but obviously this is the RGB version, so you can pretty much do any color that you want, as well as CCT. For those that don't know, CCT basically means a warm to cool light. So 2700 Kelvin up to 6500 Kelvin or whatever it may be. Now, the version that I've got here is the combo version, so it also does come with a few little extras. It is $329. But in the box, you get the light itself, which is 60 watts, and I'll show you in a bit how bright 60 watts actually is. It comes with a side handle, which is actually a power bank. Yes, a power bank that has 2550 milliamps of power and is rated at 55 watt hours. Now, the side handle / power bank charges via USB-C, and you can use it to charge something else via USB-C too. So you could actually just use this as a power bank. At full power in CCT mode, power bank will give you just under an hour worth of power. In the box, you do get a 60 watt power delivery charging cable, which is USB-C to USB-C, a power adapter and a bag for the adapter, a case for everything, and then it comes with a mini reflector as well as a diffusion dome. The physical side. Now the Molus X60 has a pretty cool retro design, and it does look pretty unique, but it looks a lot less powerful than it actually is. It's robust and it's made out of some durable material. It doesn't really feel like if you drop it, it's going to break, but I wouldn't say the whole thing is cased in massive amounts of metal. On the top, you do have a power button. At the bottom, there is a rubber flap, which allows you to plug in your DC 24 volts or Type-C USB-C. Now, just keep in mind, when you power it via USB-C, whatever your USB-C input is will limit to the amount of power that it's pushing out. So if you only put in a very, very low watt USB-C power, you're not going to get the full 60 watts out of this. Now that is obviously if you just use this unit on its own without the power bank, which I'll get to in a bit. It has 2 control buttons and a display, and the buttons are pretty simple. It is your kind of standard turn button that can also be pressed to toggle between modes or adjust brightness. And it is that normal kind of menu that you'd expect from any modern day RGB light, with a CCT mode, HSI, FX, and music mode. Now music mode is something that's quite popular with a lot of the Zhiyun lights lately, which allows you to switch to music mode, and if there is music in the background, it will strobe to that beat. The power can be adjusted on each mode from 0 to 100% in 1% increments. The CCT range goes from 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. HSI allows you to pick any color, including adjusting the saturation. And what's really appreciative is the FX mode. There are 15 FX modes, 6 are RGB and 9 are CCT. So if you do buy the CCT version, you'll only get those 9 effects. But each mode allows you to adjust the speed of the effect, and most effects allow you to do further adjustments as well, like how many colors should be displayed in the fireworks or disco, or adjusting the different types of lights for police car mode. Now the battery side handle, or Molus grip power as they term it, is also pretty simple. It does have one button which displays the amount of power left across the 4 different lights. In other words, 25, 50, 75 or 100% charge. It has one power delivery in and out port where you would charge this power bank as well. Now the light itself does have this little port over here, and this does plug in very, very simple. That's it. And to release it, There's a single button over here and it's off. Now, if you are wondering whether you power the light via the power delivery or USB-C, it will not double up and charge the power grip as well. So you would need to charge the grip separately. It would be pretty cool if you could do that, but it doesn't. The mini reflector and diffusion dome are pretty simple. They do just clip on like an ordinary mount. And obviously this isn't your standard Bones mount. It's a lot smaller, pretty much a kind of Zhiyun mount. I have heard that 1 or 2 other lights have come out with a similar mini kind of mount, but they do make additional attachments where you could convert this to a Bones mount. Some are third-party manufacturers, but it is possible. Now there is a Pro combo which includes a mini softbox which fits directly to this, which is pretty cool. And another thing about that Pro combo is it actually comes with 2 of these power grips as well. The app. Now I don't often use apps, and I've expressed my opinion on apps before, but lately I've been trying to convince myself and push myself to play with these different types of apps. And if you have a lot of products in one ecosystem, it definitely makes life a lot easier. Now currently my studio setup, all my backlights have been moved over to Zhiyun lights. So in terms of kicker lights and RGB lights and creative lights in the background, I've been playing with the Zhiyun lights a lot. And with that said, I've been using their app a lot because it allows you to adjust it on the fly. So if you are interested, the ZY Vega app from Zhiyun is actually pretty good. One thing that I really do like about it is even when you've locked your phone or your tablet and you do go back and you open it, it's generally always connected. And if it does connect, it prompts you immediately to reconnect. Tap the button and it connects and you're good to go. And the app is pretty simple, nothing overly confusing. And that's something that I like. I've used a lot of apps lately that just become way too complex, and I do understand that there may be a need for certain features. But when it comes to the ZY Vega app, I think they've done what the intention is for creators. We want to open an app, we want to set up some lights, and we just want to be able to control them and move on and get the shot. That's something that I can appreciate that Zhiyun has done with the app. And that obviously leads me to tell you that if you are looking at using an app to control your lights because you find it could help you, definitely try and buy lights within one ecosystem. Before you make purchases of the lights, try and decide which light you're going to be using as a key light, a kicker light, some RGB or creative lights, and rather kind of plan your purchases rather than just buying wildly when it comes to different types of lights, because then you will be left out of an ecosystem and you don't want to be on set and trying to use 3-4 different apps to control 3 or 4 different brands of lights. Real world use. Now none of any of this, none of the specs, none of how much Zhiyun even says how many lumens or how bright this light is actually means anything to any creator unless you've seen it on a real world test. So here you go. First we created a shoot in the studio. We decided to use this as a key light and see if it would be bright enough to light a subject in a studio environment. Now one of the biggest problems with this is with the little diffuser that you get on top of the reflector, it's still a very small light source, so it's not going to give you a nice soft light like I'm getting over here. So we decided to put this through the center of a 5-in-1 reflector. And it's easily bright enough. You don't even have to push the power that high at all. Now we do have the M20C behind as a creative light, and that's just kind of going to the background. And the shot looks pretty cool. And then just to add that touch, we added the Molus G200 in a strip box as a kicker light onto Michelle. If you want to use it as a creative key light in RGB mode, this is RGB mode through a diffuser. Now the RGB mode in this light is absolutely intense. Often you find lights that are great in CCT mode, but in RGB mode, they just kind of lack that punch when it comes to different types of colors. 2 or 3 of these in a studio, you know, running on wall power kind of setup, and you just switch off when you're done in the studio and you get back and you power them on, would be absolutely amazing. Now we did take the X60RGB onto a rooftop, used it as a key light as well as a creative light and played around. Now it's not going to balance out the sun, definitely not, but you can get very creative with it. Now this is with the tiny diffuser onto Michelle, so you're not getting a massive amount of soft light over here, but you do get some good light onto her, and the color rendition of the light is very good as well. Bearing in mind this was only running at about 10 to 20% onto Michelle, so it shows you how bright this light really is in that twilight kind of setting. Then we also used it as a kicker light for some RGB fun at the back, just to kind of play around with it and see what it can do. Now if you are wondering how bright this light actually is, this is obviously the light about the same distance as the key light is over here from me, and I'm going to give it one single tap to set it to 50% brightness. So that is, that is 50% brightness, and that is 100% brightness. And with that diffuser off, that's 50%, that is 100%. It's extremely hard to look at. And just to kind of put that into perspective in RGB mode, this is 100% RGB mode in a few different colors. So this is green, it's kind of a purple, blue, that is red, and that is insanely bright. And that is still with the diffuser on. If you take that diffuser off, it's a lot brighter. Actually kind of hurts your eyes. You can see with the diffuser off, and that diffuser takes a lot of power. Jeez, this is too bright. And this power grip is actually pretty cool to hold. It's not going to come off at all. It feels pretty easy to hold. If you wanted to hand this to an assistant and let them just kind of point around, it kind of feels like you're actually holding a camera. Very kind of unique little feel to it. So what's the verdict? To be honest, the Molus X60RGB light isn't new. I've had some time to play with it, and when it launched, I honestly thought this light was a bit of a gimmick. It looked a bit vintage, looked quite creative, but I didn't really know how powerful it actually is until I got my hands on it. If I had 2 or 3 of these in the studio, it would honestly make my life so much easier as a creative. Because they're so tiny and they put out so much power, getting these onto a light stand or putting them behind a product or just standing them on a table makes them so versatile and so easy to use. It's pretty crazy when you realize how tiny this light is and how much power it actually pushes out. If you ask me, I think the combo version with the battery is a no-brainer. Unless you're using this in your studio or always with a power source, then sure, you don't need the additional battery. But I think the point of this light is to have it so versatile and ultimately not be wired to a wall. So keep that in mind. If you do buy it without the combo, you will not get a battery with it. You would have to power it permanently. And I just feel that this is the type of light that should have a battery to it. I will drop a link in the description where you can head over and either just check the slide out if you wanted to see more detailed specs on it, or if you wanted to pick one up. Now, Zhiyun did send this to me to check it out and ask me my opinion, and here we are. I decided to make a review on it and kind of tell you about it. Honestly, this is an amazing product. This has become my RGB creative light in my studio, and that should really tell you something, the fact that we actually use this permanently. And Zhiyun, if you are watching still up until this point, please send me another 2 of these, because honestly, they are actually pretty damn cool. So thanks for watching. Wherever you are in the world, have a good day, good evening, good night, goodbye.